Hi, I'm Mr. Trugatza, your host of 24/7 Laredo, a website dedicated to talk about health, medical, educational, political, and business issues for Laredo. Please check out the website. And before we go ahead and proceed to talk to our good friend here, our former county judge, please press the like button on the 24/7 Facebook page. Please subscribe to 24/7 Laredo as well on YouTube channel, and please check out 24/7. We got a poll going out right now. You might be interested in the poll. Please mark your yes or no, and we'll give you the results later on. So now today we do have our good friend, former Judge Mercurio Martinez.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your invitation, Judge Garza.
Well, thank you very much for being here. You're right now in LCC board,
yes, sir.
And you've been at it for how many years, Judge?
Actually, I've been on that board on 3 separate occasions. This is my 3rd time, of course, and I am going now towards 18 years for this third time.
Now, I remember you used to be, because many, many years ago, you used to be a city councilman.
Yes.
That was, I believe, one of your first terms.
That is,
correct?
well, actually, prior to the city council, I was president of the board of LISD/LJC.
Oh, okay.
All right, and then I resigned as president of that board to run for city council. Wow. And I was very fortunate to get elected.
Right.
And it was during the term, that first year and a half that I was a member of the city council, that I got approached to serve as regional administrator of Small Business Administration in Dallas under then President Jimmy Carter. I was very fortunate that I was appointed by President Jimmy Carter and to oversee Region 6, which covered not only the state of Texas, but the surrounding states, which was Oklahoma, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. And I had a budget of $2 billion.
My goodness.
That's when I was very fortunate enough to meet then Governor Bill Clinton,
wow,
who was the governor of the state of Arkansas. And I ended up sharing the stage on 2 separate occasions under then Governor Clinton.
My goodness.
He ended up naming me Arkansas Traveler at that time, signed by the Secretary of State, he had the name, if you will recall, the British are coming.
Yes.
Paul Revere. Believe it or not, that was the individual whose name was the Secretary of State of Arkansas, Paul Revere.
Wow.
And I was not aware of that until Hillary Clinton brought it to my attention. It's unusual and I'm very fortunate I still have that on display at my ranch.
You know, Judge, you've had over 40 years of public service, and along with that, you've also had 40 years of experience being a businessman and being familiar with oil and gas, and really being an astute political observer about politics here in Laredo. You've known people come and go, but you've always had that steady hand in terms of running for office. Coming back to the issue, because you are a rancher.
Yes, I am.
And you've owned all your life, you've been a rancher, so you're familiar with the oil and gas business in Laredo. We've seen it come up and down, and natural gas, for whatever reason, has not been as profitable. How do you see the market nowadays when it comes to oil and gas?
Well, first let me give you a brief history, if I may. We were very fortunate during the 60s and 70s and even up to the early 80s. Between Webb County and Zapata County, between these 2 counties, a little shy of 20% of the total production in natural gas was produced by these 2 counties alone. So we have a tremendous amount of production.
Zapata especially has been known as one of the top 5.
That is correct. At one time, it was Zapata #1, and at other times, Webb County. So it was 1 and 2 for all these number of years. And we were very fortunate that was the case then. Then, of course, the Eagle Ford Shale was discovered. And the Eagle Ford Shale is a new technology that the gentleman who was a wildcatter took him about 13 years to finally develop the actual drilling. And the actual drilling is done horizontally.
Right.
All right. You drill vertically first, and as you get closer to the shale that you want to drill, then the technology is such that at that depth, which is roughly 1.5 miles deep, then they were able to get the drilling to start going sideways, horizontal
But
ways.
back then it was illegal. Now it's
Now, of
now
course,
it's
that
legal and
technology
it's
is
allowed
now
and so on and gas.
very much so.
How do you see the market, at least the next 6 to 8 months in terms of Webb County?
It's starting to improve. We're very fortunate enough. The price of, even though gradually the price of, and in this case of oil is dipping down. However, there's still strong demand for all of this activity. And gradually, many of these oil and gas companies are starting to start drilling again. Right now, the emphasis is in the Permian Basin.
That's right.
However, we are seeing some activity in the Eagle Ford Shale.
So these companies are beginning to go to the landowners again and consider buying the leases and possibly starting to.
That is correct. That is correct.
Explore their potential.
I hope the day will come. Let me make this observation. The Eagle Ford Shale, which of course about 3 years ago, the production reached and exceeded 1 billion barrels of oil. This is roughly about 3 years ago. Well, according to all the studies that have been done, okay, the Eagle Ford Shale goes into the northern part of Mexico. And on that northern part of Mexico,
That's the Burgos.
which is now identified as Burgos on the Mexico side, all of these studies say that it is 7 times greater than the Eagle Ford Shale. So this new president, AMLO, as it is known, all right, López Obrador, he presumably is going to become more and more aggressive in trying to encourage Pemex to do actual drilling. If that happens, obviously all along the border with us, we're going to see quite a bit of activity. Right. Let me make this observation. I was very fortunate enough to have developed a close friendship with one of the individual engineers and geologists of one of the big companies, to be specific, ConocoPhillips. And he said, we're interested, when the time does come for us, we're interested in starting drilling on the Mexico side. However, he said, we will more than likely start drilling further in and not along the border. And the reason is because of all the violence all along the border. But once we are able to develop a little bit more friendliness
and have confidence in the government that they'll be protected.
Yes,
and
then gradually we will end up going towards the border on the Mexico side. How
do you see the gas production? Do you see the prices going up or the gas production here?
At the present time, it looks like it will remain the same. If anything, it might drop a little bit, but not to a large degree.
Okay.
Yes, we still have quite a bit of production.
So everything then is focused on oil production
at the present time.
Gas.
The beauty about it in this case is that this oil is sweet crude versus sour crude.
Yes.
There's a big difference in the processing of sour crude. You have to go through a tremendous amount of refinement, if I may call it that, in order to make it either gasoline or some of the other byproducts within that. Because of sweet crude, the actual cost is considerably less. For a while, Venezuela, all right, was a major producer. However, Venezuela was a producer of sour crude.
Yes.
And many of these refineries that are now here were actually processing sour crude. Then when this sweet crude became available, they had to reprogram or redo some of that.
You have to reprogram
in order to process at considerably far less expense than it used to be on the processing
so
of sour
see,
crude.
Permian Basin right now is definitely at a
It is. Right now, Permian Basin is at its peak.
And there's
doing
some activity
exceptionally well.
going on in Cotula and Dilley and other areas.
Well, that is part of the Eagle Ford Shale.
Eagle Ford. And at one point, it'll start picking up somehow in Webb County.
It is, without question, that is going to have to pick up again.
Would there be a collateral effect on businesses in Webb County? Do you see, or is the business climate in Webb County good right now?
It is, and to a large extent, we have to acknowledge NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. I hope that President Trump does not come through with his promise of deleting or eliminating NAFTA. I can understand there's a need for modification, sure, okay? It's been 20 years, so there's there has to be some modification to the treaty, but certainly not to delete or eliminate, get rid of it. Keep in mind that we have now become the number 2 international port in the entire country.
Exactly, and that's what I wanted now. That takes us to the next point, and that is, you mentioned earlier, before the cameras were on, that now Laredo is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, inland port.
We're the number 1 as an inland port or land port, and we are the number 2. We have now surpassed JFK, which is New York.
So you're talking about Miami, San Diego, Los Angeles. You're talking about all the major
all of those major, including Houston, which is a seaport.
Right.
Okay. And let me give you one of the reasons why, in my opinion, that's why we continue to grow. All right. The port of Lázaro Cárdenas. The port of Lázaro Cárdenas, by nature, in Mexico, is by nature is very, very deep seaport. It is so deep, okay, that it is able to handle the largest container ships of the world, 7th generation container ships. Believe it or not, these container ships bring in 14,500 containers in one ship.
Incredible.
That much. And for these container ships, when they unload in Long Beach, the stevedores, which is the unions, they charge $600 per container to unload it from the ship onto their land port. The case in the port of Lázaro Cárdenas, they charge $200. So if you're the captain of that ship, all right, even if it takes you let's say 2 more days to come and unload in the port of Lázaro Cárdenas, you are saving $400 per container times 14,500. You're looking at over $5 million in savings. You get a percentage of that savings. You're the captain. Where do you think you're going to?
You're going to go to Mexico.
Exactly. You're going to go to Mexico. And that is one of the reasons why Laredo has now continues. Even during the period of time when there was an economic downturn in our, a few years back, Laredo never had any negative numbers.
No. And what I'd like to do at this point, Judge, I'd like to talk to you about your other work that you did as a public servant. So what I'll do is I'm going to take a short break and then come back with you and continue our discussion with former County Judge Mercurio Martinez.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we're very lucky to have our former County Judge Mercurio Martinez, who's been informing us about the state of affairs, at least in business and oil and gas in our community. But I want to talk now about something a lot more personal, or at least in what you're working on as well, and that is you being a member of the OCC board. This is your 3rd time that you're on the board. You've been on the board on and off for the last 30 years. You've seen our young people get educated and move on and come back. What's going on now in terms of what's the new projects that you're working on?
Believe it or not, we're making history, okay? First, let me say this. Our nursing program, it is recognized as number 7 statewide, with the only community college, the only college in the entire state that is in the top 10. The TAMIU, as we know it, is number 17 in the nursing program, okay? All right, that is just one item. The other item, all right, we are right now, the health facility that is under construction in the South Campus, we're going to be moving the nursing program and all the programs related to the health facilities. We are going to have the presence, thanks to the board of the Gateway Community Health Center, which of course Mr. Elmo Lopez Jr., right along with Lauro Garza,
right,
who presides as the chairman of that board, they have agreed they are going to have presence. That once they are there, we are going to offer free clinical services to South Laredo, or for the rest of the city of residents of the city of Laredo, for that matter, we are going to make history not only in the state of Texas, but in the entire United States. Why? Because we will be the only college that will have a free clinic, that will offer services also to the nursing program, as well as to the other students that will be studying in areas related to health. They will be providing access where they will not only be able to monitor, they will be able to shadow, they will be able to see on a first-hand basis. And that's in tremendous. Itself is something that has not been done, and you do not see it at all anywhere else.
That's tremendous, because I would assume now that you're going to open the doors for a lot more young people to become medical professionals.
That is correct.
Which would allow then our community to benefit in the long run.
A lot.
And much of it is federal funded, I would imagine.
A good part of it is federal funding, but I also have to thank our community, because if you will realize, a few years ago, we offered a $100 million bond issue to the community. Of course, we campaigned, we made a number of visits to different organizations, and I want to thank the community, because over 80% of the voters actually came through to support the $100 million bond issue. And it's because of this, now Laredo College, and I have to say this, Laredo College, no longer, we've gone through 3 different periods since 1947, from Laredo Junior College to Laredo Community College, now to Laredo College, all right? So now, this institution, okay, is going to offer not only the specific programs in the academic, in the vocational technical, but would you believe the drone program is starting to get very popular, okay? Also, the technology in hacking, all right? Right now, there's a course that is being taught. As a matter of fact, the chief of the Border Patrol, he said, I intend to send all of my Border Patrol agents to go and study that particular program.
That's good.
Okay?
That's
so
good.
Cybernetics, here it is. So here you have very, very specific examples that are now coming
and that's
into
what's good, because
place.
the board that you have now is obviously respecting and in fact listening to the community.
Yes.
Because they're obviously supporting it, but you have a whole bunch of new programs that are in direct benefit for our community. You also have the Law Enforcement Academy that we've had for over 20 years.
Which is, it is recognized statewide as one of the best.
Yes, so I mean, I congratulate you and the rest of the board for really being on top and having the pulse of the community and responding to the needs of the community.
Yes, sir.
And because of that, that's where we have many, many jobs out there. And so I thank you, congratulate you and the board for doing a great job.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward, though. I understand that there's quite a few, the election is coming up for OCC board, and there's a few openings as well.
There are 3 positions that are now open, all right? The position of Dr. Gilberto Martinez, he decided he's not seeking re-election. Remember that he's a professor at Texas A&M International University, so he no longer, he has decided that he's not going to seek re-election. The other is Mr. Alan Tijerina. He's not seeking re-election. Right now, he's the vice chair of the board. And then the third one is Mr. René de la Viña. Okay, so all those 3 positions are open, and we're going to have candidates that are seeking election
I'm sure
into
that
those 3 positions.
People were very important to what you have now.
They were.
Now that you're going to have 3 new people or 3 positions open, what are you looking for in terms of public officials that are running for? I mean, what is that you would like to have at LCC or at
We would like to have candidates that are interested in the welfare of the college and that they're not out there for personal gain, okay? We run for office to help our community and not for personal gain. And that is the candidates that we would love to have. And this is exactly what our community needs. You run for office to help your community, to improve your community, to bring in benefits.
Right.
All right? And that is our role as elected office holders.
Right. That's
All right?
Well, I'm hopeful that they listen to what you have to say, because you're certainly one of our elder statesmen when it comes to public officials. You've been at it since the 1970s. Since I was a younger, and let me tell you, I've always looked up to you, and not just because you're here, but because you certainly have proven time and time again that you got the right public service heart to be able to help a lot of people, and to do it within the confines of the ethical considerations and all the rules that apply concerning being a public official. So I congratulate you for being such a great public servant.
Let me make one observation that I was brought up with, and my father frequently, every time, he would constantly bring it up, and his remark was, "La educación no se carga en morrales." Education is not carried in a backpack, okay? En la mejor herencia que un padre puede dejar a su hijo es la educación. And that's why we are very much involved in helping our community, educating our community, building up that foundation, building up that base. The more individual citizens we have in our community that have the education, which is the foundation, the better our community will be in the future. And that's what we are interested in.
Very well said, Judge. I guess in closing, I want to thank you again for being here. You again have continued to be a great public servant, and I look forward to seeing you many more times, Judge.
Thank you, sir.
And on behalf of the 24/7 Laredo community, I want to thank you for being here. And please, for those of you who do open up the site, please press like and subscribe to the channel so you can see future programs such as this. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.